All right. You. Welcome to the Red Road East. I am your host, Fierce Truth Seeker. The Red Road East is an indigenous TV program dedicated to archiving and preserving the history, legacy, and culture of the original peoples east of the Mississippi River and the Caribbean. Though this live presentation is not on the television, the Red Road East is a television program, but now we're on the YouTube channel doing YouTube stuff and not television stuff. Okay, just wanted to make that clear because the TV station is still closed down. Well, not the station itself, but the studio is closed down due to COVID. It's still closed. Okay, hopefully in the near future, the studio will be reopened. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to have to stay with the time frame today because I'm almost out of time on StreamYard. Okay, when the funds become available, I will start to have a paid account with StreamYard, but at this particular time, I am not able to do so. However, we're working on it. All right. And so, yeah, we're talking about Marcus Garvey. Okay. And it's a shame that I have to do such a long presentation on Garvey. This is lecture number 7. And even with this being lecture 7, some people are still not getting it. You know, some people are still not getting the fact that a lot of the accusations of Garvey are frivolous arguments, okay, with no type of sources to back up these claims on Garvey. So, what I'm doing is putting the information in its proper perspective, okay? Because that's what it's about. You know, we don't want to lie on our heroes and sheroes. Okay, it's an injustice to them. And right now, the fierce truth seeker is the only one who is able to put all of this in its proper perspective. Okay, so also before we proceed, if anyone is kind enough to leave a donation, I'm going to leave the link in the chat. Okay. And so without further ado, let me see what time we're dealing with. I'm going to stick to the 40-minute mark. Let me refresh this screen here and see. I think we started at, I think we at 10 minutes in. No, 5 minutes in. Okay, cool. So in 40 minutes, we're going to stop. So I'm not going to look too much at the questions in the chat. I'll pull up a few, but because of the time restraint, I'm going to just give the lecture without taking too many questions from the chat. However, what I will do is I'm going to answer some of the questions from the previous couple of chats, okay, because we ran out of time and I wasn't able to get to some of those questions and concerns. So there were people who had questions and concerns, and I do want to make sure that those questions go answered, okay, and the concerns get addressed, because that's the only way to allow y'all to have, a proper understanding of Marcus Garvey and his history and things of that nature. Okay, so let's get in it. So there was a question in the last presentation. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for that question. And if anyone does have questions that or concerns that is not able to get addressed in this particular presentation, you could leave those in the chat and I will get to them in the next. Okay. So let's see here. Someone wanted to know why Garvey didn't teach about the Maroons in Jamaica and the Moors. Okay. So I think we can start with that one. Let me just go to some docs here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share the screen. Let's see here. Give me a second. I want to share the screen because the fierce truth seeker does not like to just talk. Fierce truth seeker likes to show receipts. Okay. Give me 1 second. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for the documents. Okay. So what I want to do is, in regards to that question, matter of fact, I might as well put that question in the chat so that we can have a little marker here. I'll put that in the chat. Why didn't Garvey teach about Jamaican Maroons and Moorish? Okay, so if you look in the chat, I have that question there. Okay. Give me 1 second. All right, so what I want to first do is let us take a look at Garvey and the Maroons. Okay. And the answer is quite simple. So I'm looking for my book here. Give me 1 second. Just give me a second. So to answer that question, what we want to do, this right here is the Holy Quran Circle 7 of the Moorish Science Temple of America. divinely prepared by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Okay. And it says here at the end of the Holy Quran, Circle 7, in the last chapter, it says, the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. 1. The last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days to warn and stir up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed, which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days, there came a forerunner who was divinely prepared by the great Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam. And his name is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men. Now, you don't have to, you know, believe in all the dogma and all that stuff. I'm pointing it out for because the Fierce Truth Seeker is not religious. I'm spiritual. Okay. However, I'm using that as a reference. So, in answer to that question, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, well, Marcus Garvey was Marcus Garvey. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali was the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Marcus Garvey was not Noble Drew Ali. Okay. And to teach about Moorish science and the Jamaican Maroons. So let's deal with the Moorish science aspect of it first. Okay. First of all, Marcus Garvey, if you studied Marcus Garvey, you would know that Marcus Garvey wanted to keep religion out of the UNIA. Okay. However, even though his organization had a Christian overtone, Marcus Garvey leaned more towards Islam. Okay. And even one of his hymns was entitled Allahu Akbar. Okay. And matter of fact, so you had in the UNIA, you had religious elements in the UNIA, and you had, different people trying to make the UNIA a religious organization. Okay. But Garvey really didn't want that. Okay. However, most of our people were Judeo-Christian at that time. So it had a Christian overtone. Okay. But if you study Garvey, like I said, this is why you have to read books. If you study Garvey, he really wanted to keep religion out. Because what happened was you had elements of what they call at that time Black Jews, and you even had some Christian elements in there, trying to bring that about, and people professing to be, the divine this and divine that and things of that nature. Okay. And Garvey didn't want all of that. So, however, like I said, he leaned towards more towards Islam. So now I'm gonna pull up something here. Matter of fact, let me see if I can share this on the screen. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I have this information in my notes, but I want to try to pull this up on the screen. Hold on, I'm gonna mute for a second because we're getting feedback from outside. Hold on. Okay. All right, we got 6 in the chat. How y'all doing? Anyway, I'm trying to find this stuff in my emails so I can pull it up for y'all. Okay, I think I have it here. Oh, okay. Yeah. Give me a second. Bear with me. Don't go anywhere. Give me 1 second. Just pulling up these documents so that I can share with y'all. Okay. Hold on 1 second. I gotta mute this. Okay, so let me share the screen. Okay, this article is entitled Al Islam and the Garvey Movement. Okay, it says here Muslim influence on the UNIA, father of all creation, Allah, omnipotent, supreme, or every nation. God bless our president. These are the words of one of the hymns of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, founded by the late Marcus Mosiah Garvey, often described as the most influential leader of African descent in the West during the 20th century. Garvey, considered by many to be the father of Black nationalism, had been taught African history, topology, and politics while residing in Egypt by a Muslim Egyptian named Dous Muhammad Effendi. Amongst Garvey's followers were many African Americans who viewed themselves as Muslims, struggling for the liberation for their people from oppression. These men and women had been influenced by an Ahmadiyya Muslim da'i or missionary named Mufti Muhammad Sadiq, who came to America from India in 1920 to propagate Islam as he understood it. Give me 1 second, I'm scrolling. Bayumi writes, originally conceiving of his work as broad based, ecumenical, multiracial missionary activity, Sadiq soon realized that whites were bitter and fearful of his message, and African Americans insisted and open. I'm sorry, and African Americans interested and open. Early reports indicate that several Garveyites attended his lectures and were among his first converts. Journalist Roger Dilder, Didier, wrote of some of these self-proclaimed Muslim Garveyites, all the audience has adopted Arabic names. There is the very dark Mr. Augustus, who used to belong to St. Mark's Church in this city, Chicago, but who now sings a pretty Arabic prayer and acts rather Sphinx-like. Half a dozen Garvey cohorts are counted, one in his resplendent uniform. Tony Martin states that the 1922 UNIA convention, that at the 1922 UNIA convention, several delegates suggested that the association should adopt Islam as its official religion, since 3/4 of the black world were Muslims, and Muslims were better Christians than Christians. Okay, let's skip up a little bit. Better Christians than Christians. The discussion was lively and occupied both the morning and afternoon sessions under the topic, The Future Religious Faith and Belief of the Negro. Garvey himself presided over their afternoon session, declaring the subject to be of vital interest and importance, in it struck as the strongest side of the Negro, it being conceded that the Negro was more religious than anything else. Garvey further stated that dictating religion was not in the desire of the UNIA, but rather to give African people a scientific understanding of religion. Sound like the 5%ers. He then advocated interreligious dialogue and meeting. Although the resolution to adopt al-Islam as the UNIA's official religion, and indeed the future religion of all black people in America, was not passed, its serious introduction into the discussion, spread out over hours, indicates that receptivity that was present in the ranks of that organization to the Islamic faith, as it was understood according to Ahmadiyya teachings. One of its hymns was even named Allahu Akbar, okay, one of the UNIA hymns. In Detroit, Michigan, Mufti Sadiq himself spoke at 5 Garveyite meetings in 1923, and 40 more UNI members converted to the faith. 40 more UNIA members converted to the faith. One was another Christian leader, Reverend Sutton, who was named Sheikh Abdul Salam and placed in leadership over the congregation in that city. Ahmadiyya appeals to the followers of Garvey, hammered a message tailored to them. Knowing that many Garveyites, or at least those inclined to Islam, read its passages, the Muslim Sunrise contained an article with that with what must be the world's longest title. Its text included these words: apart from confederation of the African tribes or peoples of African origin, the possibility of which is a nightmare to the white man, he lives in fear and trembling that Islam may become the religion of the Negro. And why should it not be? Islam would be a wonderful spiritual force in the life of the colored races, uniting us in a bond of common sympathy and interest. We could then add to our motto of one God, one aim, one destiny, the words one language, which would be Arabic. It could easily be made the universal language of Negroes and would remove the banners which now face us in the intercommunication of the different tribes in Africa. Arabic was widely spoken by millions of Negroes. Garvey and Al Islam. Garvey, who was himself a student of a Muslim, was obviously listening to this message. He posed the question ostensibly to Christians who were American and other peoples of European descent in positions of power when he stated, "You white men have taught us to love God. No, you white men have taught us the love of God. You have had us to see him in all goodness and perfection. Is he a mockery of you? He must be something real. Must we by your actions deny his goodness and love for us and seek and search for the God of Africa, the Allah, most high, noble, and almighty?" Further, he mentioned the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, several times in his speeches as an inspirational figure whom he considered to be a great black man. He declared before an audience at Liberty Hall in Harlem, New York, on September 17th, 1922, everybody knows that Muhammad was a Negro. Negroes on this side of the river had accepted Christ, while on the other side, many of them had accepted Muhammad. The administration was not endeavoring to bring Muhammad into the Western world. Muhammad was not in need of change. He was a colored man anyhow. The fight that was centered around me is the same kind of fight that was centered around any other leader, any other idealist who sets out to lead the people into a new vision, into a new light. It was the same kind of fight that was centered around Muhammad when he enunciated his doctrine. It was the same kind of fight that was centered around Martin Luther when he declared the Reformation. It was the same kind of fight that was centered around the great political leaders of Ireland who sought to arouse the people for Irish freedom. It was the same kind of fight that centered around the man of Nazareth who attempted to assemble the multitude and teach them the new doctrine of salvation. It is the same kind of fight that we will be centered around any man or woman who seeks to place an ideal among the people. The great Muhammad, the leader of the Mohammedan faith, the man who swept the Asiatic world with that new cult, the new religion of Allah, he counted the cost, and in his lifetime paid the price. Muhammad suffered many reverses. Muhammad suffered many defeats at certain times. Half of the people, 2/3 of the people, nearly all of the people forsook Mohammedanism, was forsook Muhammad. But Muhammad stuck to his faith and ultimately triumphed, and Mohammedanism was given to the world. And as Muhammad did in the religious world, so in the political arena have we had men who paid the price for leading the people toward the great light of liberty. Okay, so that right there shows us and answers the question of Garvey and his position on Islam. Okay. And as you read in the Quran Circle 7, it was not Garvey's charge to bring that about. Okay. In the Circle 7, he's the John the Baptist to prepare the way for the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Okay. So the Prophet Noble Drew Ali came and brought that particular message. Okay. And Garvey also talked about nationality. Okay. And got our people thinking about nationality. He also said, where is our government? Okay. So he already prepared our minds to be able to be receptive towards what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was to bring about. Okay. So that's why I say when you do research on this topic, you have to do your research on any topic. You have to do your research thoroughly. Okay. And all I'm doing, I'm not, trying to be better than anybody or, say that I'm the all knowing this or all knowing that. Okay. As I said in the previous lecture, I'm speaking to you from the perspective of someone who was a part of a Garvey organization back in my younger years. So that's how I can speak so efficiently on the history of Garvey. Because, like I said before, Marcus Garvey is a whole school of thought in and of itself. And you can't just do a microwave research on Garvey because he did a lot. He did so much. Like I say, Marcus Garvey had the largest movement among our people, okay, of all times. So that's a whole subject in and of itself, let alone asking, and we're just asking the question, was he an agent? Okay. And I'm already on lecture 7. This is the 7th lecture, just trying to answer that question. So imagine all the other stuff about Garvey, who did all these things and created this movement. Okay. So I'm saying that to say that, he is a very complex topic. And again, I'm not a hero worshiper. Okay. I don't worship Garvey. I don't worship Noble Drew Ali. I don't worship anybody. Okay. And am I saying Garvey was perfect? I'm not saying anybody was perfect. I don't care who it is. Prophet, Marcus Garvey, any of them. Okay. Because we're all human. But the charges that are being brought against Garvey is what I'm dealing with, and I'm saying that the charges that Garvey is being accused of is inaccurate. Okay, and he's innocent of those charges. Okay, now the other question. So I think we did sufficient enough research right then. I could pull up more. I have more documents, more support. I have a lot more supporting documents just on that topic right there of Garvey and Islam. Okay, because let me show you one of Garvey's teachers. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. Let me look for this right here. Give me 1 second. I want to show you this. Give me 1 second. Let's say fierce truth seeker doesn't like to talk. Is it this one? It's not that one. Is it this one? It's not that one. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. So if you look here, this is Dusay Muhammad Ali. And this was one of Garvey's teachers. Okay. And as you can see, this is a Moor. Okay. You see the fez? Okay. Oh, I wonder, is this still sharing? Can y'all see this on the screen? I wonder if y'all can see this on the screen. Put a thumbs up if y'all can see this article with Dusay Muhammad Ali. Maybe not. Let me see. Let me see if I could. Oh, y'all can see. Okay, Awanasa says yes. Okay, y'all can see it. Okay, yeah. So Dusay Muhammad Ali. Okay, so you see the Fez says here Dusay Muhammad Ali, November 21st, born November 21st, 1866, to passed in made transition in June on June 25th, 1945, was most likely the source of the African conscious independent new view, of the new, view of the world we hold today. People before him. Were it not for him, they probably would not have been a UNIA. Blah 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 blah. But I don't know why. For some reason, I still don't see this on the screen. Hold on. Let me refresh this other screen. Give me 1 second. No, it's not on here. Hold on. Let me try to do this over. Give me 1 second. Let me share the screen. Share. Okay. Here it is. This is what I was trying to share. Okay. That's Dusay Muhammad. And this was one of Garvey's teachers. Okay. So were it not for him, probably would not be a UNIA, a Nation of Islam, a Moorish Science Temple, or any of the leaders. Wait a minute. Let me see here. Oh, okay. They're talking about Garvey here and Dusay Muhammad. Okay. UNIA. Say Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association, a Nation of Islam, blah, 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 blah. Farrakhan, Black Panthers, blah, blah, blah. Disproving the general belief that no African ever took an interest in guiding and shaping the Black community in America during our time of need and isolation. Ali worked extensively in our community, educating and sharing his wisdom with all he could reach. Duce Ali was born in Alexandria, Egypt, the son of a Sudanese mother and an Egyptian army officer. He was brought to London at a young age by one of his father's friends. Ali originally intended to take up the medical profession and had actually started on his medical studies when news of his father's death came to him. Blah, 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 blah. I don't want to get too much into Duce Muhammad because we're focusing on Garvey right now. Okay. But I want to stick to the topic because we're almost out of time. And what I want to do is answer the other question that somebody, and who was the person who asked that question? I think that was Anunnaki Ilbay who asked that question. So I hope Anunnaki Ilbay is watching, and I hope that the information that I shared is sufficient enough. So the other part of the question was, why didn't Garvey teach about the Maroons, okay, of Jamaica? All right. So the Maroons of Jamaica, well, so you got to understand, uh, Garvey, the Maroons of Jamaica, Garvey was here in the U.S. So it wouldn't be that wouldn't have anything to do with our people here. Okay, why would he teach about the Maroons and in Jamaica, and he's here in North America talking to people in North America? Okay, uh, Garvey was not interested in talking about just one particular segment of our people, where he came from. He was more about trying to unite all of our people globally, not just in one particular part of the world. Okay. And again, I'm not pushing any type of ideology. I'm not pushing Pan Africanism. I'm not pushing Moorish science to you. I'm not pushing any ideology to you. We're just discussing history. Okay. We're discussing history and we're putting it in its proper context so that because misinformation can become viral very soon, very quickly. So, what I'm doing is just correcting. I mean, like I said, what inspired me to do this presentation was me getting into a 5-hour argument with a close friend of mine about who was saying that Garvey was an agent. And this is a very someone who's very dear to me, someone very close, like a brother. Okay. And he was convinced that Garvey was an agent. And we screamed at each other at the top of our lungs, okay, back and forth about Garvey being an agent, Garvey not being. I'm saying Garvey wasn't an agent. So that's what inspired me to do this series here. Okay. So now, and I know that he's inspired by, you know, probably someone who had misinformation themselves. And that's what I'm saying about misinformation going viral. Okay. So again, So as for the Maroons, okay, that didn't have anything to do with Garvey's program. Okay, he taught about the global experience of highly melanated people. Okay, so now teaching about the Maroons. So the Maroons actually Garvey did, because all of that is in line with Garvey's teachings. Okay, because when you study the Maroons philosophy, even though you have different sects of Maroons, okay, but if you look at what the Maroons say and you look at what Garvey says, a lot of stuff that Garvey taught consciousness. Okay, and I'm talking about the consciousness of the time. We can't take modern ideologies of, okay, he taught the Aborigines that they had to go to Africa, this, that, and other. That's, Aborigine thing is a modern ideology. You can't take modern ideologies and make them retroactive. Okay, at that time, that ideology did not exist. Only among certain individuals here and there, far and few. Okay, but it wasn't a school of thought. Okay, and we already covered that in the previous discussions. So if you study anything about the Maroons, okay, the Maroons say that you have different groups. You have some of the Maroons that say, oh yeah, we came from Africa. Okay, you got other Maroons who are indigenous. Okay, so for instance, like, is anyone listening now from know who Ruddy Duckett is? Any of y'all from New York who ever looked at the reggae show Rockers back in the days? Or are any of you familiar with Sundial Woodroot Tonic? Okay, Ruddy Duckett is the guy who put out the Sundial Woodroot Tonic bitters. He used to come on Rockers reggae music show back in the days. They would feature him. Ruddy Duckett is also known as Brother Rashan Abdul Hakim, or the Bush Doctor, because he's a Bushman, a Bush Doctor. Okay, and so Ruddy Duckett, or Brother Rashan Abdul Hakim, he put out. Let me see. I'll put it on. I'm pretty sure anybody here from New York, y'all, I'm pretty sure y'all will know when I show you this. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna put this on the screen. Gonna put this on the screen. Give me 1 second. See here. I'm gonna share screen. You will know when I show you this. Y'all will know who he is. Okay. If you're from New York, you've seen this here. Sundial. Put a one up in the chat if y'all are familiar with this bitters, this herbal formula called Sundial. Again, that's the New York people. Even though I think he may have them in some states, but this is Sundial. Okay. And Ruddy Duckett, or Rashan Abdul Hakim, is the dread, the Rastaman that you would see on Rockers, the reggae show. And he also used to have a radio show that used to come on WLIB back in the days. Okay. So anyway, so brother Rashan Abdul Hakim, he is a Maroon. Okay, just like Garvey was a Maroon. Okay. And he says that his people were from Africa. He says they are Coromantee people, okay, from Africa. And when he produced this particular sundial remedy, which is a blood tonic, he said that this is a formula. It's a formula of bitters that was handed down orally to his people coming from Africa. Okay. And if you read here, it says, I'm going to read to you on the label. It says here, sundial coromantee, used traditionally as a herbal bitters, colonic, stomach, and intestinal cleanser. By the way, this is some strong stuff for people on the run who don't need the runs. Out of the ancient Coromantee people of Africa comes via Jamaica a herbal blend presented as sundial, Coromantee, corkscrew bitters, colonic, and intestinal cleanser. The ingredients in this product is traditionally used by the people of Africa, Caribbean, and Latin America to clean the stomach, intestines, and colonic area of waste matter to help relieve constipation. Okay, so this is a formula that was handed down by his mother's grandmothers and family. Okay, and so he knows his lineage. Okay, and he's a Maroon. Is that to say that all the Maroons are African? No. Okay, because there are obviously Maroons that are indigenous. Okay, so the Maroons were just people who ran up into the mountains. Okay, escaping the colonials who were enslaving the people and at war with the people. Okay, and you have Maroons not just in the islands, you have Maroons here. They refer to the Seminoles, okay, as Seminoles communities, as Maroon communities. Okay, so that's that. And I wish I had more time, but we're out of time. Let me see. Let me refresh the screen here and see where we are. Yeah, 54 minutes ago. I don't have any more time. I really would like to keep going because it's tons and tons and tons and tons of more information. Okay. I got probably about maybe between 500 and 1,000 more hours of presentation just on this topic alone. Okay. But I'm going to have to leave it there. And because I don't have an infinite amount of time on StreamYard. They sent me the notification that I'm almost out of time. Anything after this, you have to do um, a paid subscription. Okay, and I'm not ready to do that as of yet. Maybe in the near future, but not as of yet. Okay. Anyway, so this was good. And let me see. Let me just give a shout out to those who are in the house. Okay. All right. So we got Cuz up in here. Awinasa. What's up, Cuz? Yeah. And again, for those who are nice enough to leave a donation, that is the link there in the chat. Okay, it's there in the chat for whoever. And we got Native Voices Turtle Island TV sending apologies, technical difficulties, but royalty. Okay, yeah, I was trying to get you, Firebird. I was trying to get you. We were supposed to do that show at Bronx Net today. I had to fill in and do it at the last minute. I had to do the show myself. Let's see. Oh yeah, we got American Research News Channel in the house. Yeah, peace. Yeah, yeah. For those who are in the chat, you want to get some good information, definitely check out American Research News Channel. You know, he drops a lot of good history as well. Okay. Let's see here. What else we have? Terrible slander of Marcus Garvey from new startup groups. Yeah, well, it is what it is. Let's see. The UNIA was instrumental in helping many businesses start up in Harlem back in the yeah. You know, they started Garvey, his program, like a lot of the stuff that you see the Nation of Islam was doing back in the days. Garvey was doing that way back then. They just followed Garvey's model of doing all that stuff, you know, with the businesses and talking about supporting quote unquote other black businesses by the whole buy black that people were talking about back then. Garvey was doing that way before these other groups came about. Okay. And you know, the quote unquote, this was not my words, this was the word of the day, you know, black consciousness and things of that nature. You know, Garvey was doing that, you know, reversing the psychology that said white is right, you know, and if you're dark skinned, you're inferior and things of that nature. Garvey did things to reverse that mindset. Okay. So as I say, people are putting slander out, but they're not researching his program, you know. But anyway, I am gonna have to get off of here now because we're out of time. And until the next time, do the dog, e.